Welcome to Teacher Nikki's Kitchen, where today I'm going to show you how I make my light and fluffy Mexican rice. The Mexican rice is usually served when I make tacos, when I make burritos, or I make anything that is Tex-Mex inspired that needs to be beefed up with a little more food. So to get started on our rice, I have my pot already warming on low. I'm going to turn it up. Into my pot, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of salted butter and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. Vegetable oil. And my tablespoon of butter. The vegetable oil and butter serve as how I toast the rice before we add the other liquids and ingredients. So we have a nice nutty flavor that tastes like home. Now that it is melted and starting to bubble, I will add my 1 cup of long grain white rice. I'm going to give this a quick stir so that it can all be coated with the butter and rice, so that the rice can be coated with the butter and oil and start to toast. The toasting will take about 5 minutes. The reason that I use the butter and the oil is because butter by itself can brown and even burn quickly. The oil I don't use by itself because it just doesn't have the good flavor that the butter has. So I use half and half. Until I realized how easy it was for me to make my own Mexican rice, I used to buy one of the boxes that came with the rice and the ingredients and mixed it all up. But in just 5 easy steps, you can have the perfect Mexican rice without having to buy another thing. These ingredients I usually have in my house. We're working with the rice over medium heat, and it's important for us to continue stirring until we get a light golden brown color. Our rice is starting to toast, and it's amazing to find out that rice actually smells sweet. The toasted rice smells sweet, almost reminiscent of the beginnings of like a Rice Krispie treat. Go figure. Step 1, we have toasted our rice. If you look closely, you can see that it is brown. Step 2 is we are adding our aromatics. For this rice, we are adding 1 small white onion, and 2 tablespoons of garlic. We're going to cook the aromatics with our toasted rice for about 2 to 3 minutes until they start to soften. The great thing about this is even at this stage, the rice is still continuing to toast, just now it's with the aromatics. It already smells good in here. Switching to a bigger spatula to be able to stir more effectively. Our rice has browned more and our aromatics have softened. Now it's time for us to add our liquid and then seasonings. So for this, to make sure that we're still having good flavor throughout the recipe, we're gonna add 1.5 cups of chicken broth. If you don't want to add chicken broth, you can use veggie broth or water, but I suggest you use a broth just to give additional flavor to your recipe. To this, we're adding our 1 cup of tomato sauce. It's what helps it have that traditional reddish orange color. A 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Give all this a good stir. And bring to a boil. Now that we've brought our mixture to a boil, we're going to turn it down to low and let it simmer for about 18 to 20 minutes. Once you have your rice started on the stove, just boiling and simmering until it's ready, this is usually when I put together the other components that are going to be a part of the dinner. I want to give you a quick peek of what it looks like when the rice is simmering. It doesn't need to be stirred, but it's a slow, consistent bubble. This is a simmer. My rice has been simmering for about 4 minutes, and just to be sure that it's not sticking to the bottom, I am going to go in and not necessarily stir, but I'm going to use my spatula to scrape across the bottom and make sure that rice isn't sticking, because any rice stuck will stay and scorch. Nope, everything is totally non-stick right now. And again, I'm not stir. I put my spatula in and just go across the bottom and feel for any resistance. There's none. We are 12 minutes into our simmer, and I'm going to spot check again just to make sure that the rice is not sticking to the bottom. Yep. Still a nice simmer. The rice is starting to absorb the broth and seasonings that we put in there. gonna let it keep going. It's been 19 minutes, so I'm going to check the doneness of my rice because usually about 18 to 20 minutes is enough time, but you want to be sure that the rice is cooked through. No crunchy rice. The rice has no crunch at its center. Most of the liquid has been absorbed. Now that our rice has absorbed all the liquid, the next steps for us is to fluff the rice. With a fork, and then let it sit covered for 5 minutes. The 5 minutes allows the flavors to meld a little further, for it to start to release some of the steam that's in there, and after 5 minutes it will be ready to transfer to its serving dish. Okay, it's been 5 minutes that our rice has rested. We're gonna go ahead and transfer it to our serving dish and give it one last fluff. Those couple of times that I stopped just to make sure that nothing was stuck on the bottom, definitely made sure that all of the rice came out and none of it was stuck and scorched. Here's our rice, ready to go with any Tex-Mex recipe that we have. Let's give it a taste and make sure the salt is where we want it to be, and just to make sure that we did a good job. A super flavorful side dish that supports all of your Tex-Mex recipes. Today, we went through the easy Mexican rice recipe that I used for my family. I hope you've enjoyed learning how I make Mexican rice to accompany dishes for my family. Is this something that you would use with your family? I encourage you to try it and let me know how it works out in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed your time, and I will see you next time. Bye.